I absolutely support the incorporation of technologies. And one of the things that I have tried to be sensitive to and recommend is how they are placed, where if you think of it, an instructional sequence from beginning to end, then to ask the question about a particular technology, a simulation, or going and searching on the web for some information, where in that instructional sequence would be the most important and appropriate placement of the technology that would assist and contribute to the students' learning. So that's my one kind of where does it go in an instructional sequence that is going to assist most in learning. The PISA test begins with understanding that individuals like you, like me, your teachers, encounter life situations, things that have to do with health, the environment, resources, that have some scientific background, and that we as individuals have to answer those questions, and that if we begin when PISA is for 15-year-old students, a little younger than you, I think, and that if we learn about how individuals understand questions about science at that age, that we can do something to help them not only learn more science, but eventually live a better life because they can apply science to situations that they encounter. Deciding the questions begins with an understanding that individuals in life confront situations where they have to use science to answer questions that they confront. And so in designing the questions for PISA, we had to first say, can individuals identify, given a situation, can individuals identify the science within that situation, and then can they obtain, whether they go to the internet, whether they have knowledge themselves, can they get more information that they do not have to answer the situation and then apply the knowledge in some reasonable way. That's a complex set of activities, which is different from just saying, do you know some science ideas? Do you know about photosynthesis? Do you know about density? We would assume that the students can obtain that information if they need it in other resources, as you would do in life and living. It's a very complex situation because beyond what I have just explained, it really is the case. PISA is done in 30 or 40 different countries and languages. And so there are some cases where a country, and because of language differences, that you just cannot ask certain questions because the students would have no idea what you were asking about and could not reasonably answer it, which wouldn't be fair to the students in that country. One of the things that kind of underlies the theme that you've heard me express is PISA is really interested in how competent you are, in the competencies to solve problems of everyday life and living. That's different than saying, if I give you a series of questions in biology or in geology or in chemistry, can you answer specific questions relative to that science? They want to know how competent you are, given a life situation, to apply scientific knowledge to answer the questions in a context that has to do with life and living. I'll tell you, first of all, the United States is not usually one of the best countries. That's for sure. Among the better countries, certainly Finland, Singapore, Canada. Oh, Korea, yeah. The kind of Asian circle, Korea, Japan. Now, so those countries usually do consistently very well. The second part of your question, why? I would say, first of all, the selection and training of teachers. The second thing, the education in those countries is coherent. Because there's a Ministry of Education, most of the students and what occurs at grade levels are consistent and coherent. The third feature, I think, is the fact that they do introduce some everyday problems as a part of the education in specific disciplines like science, like mathematics, like reading, the three primary domains of PISA. Yes, I've seen many different educational systems. One of the best that I observed was Finland, in the Scandinavian countries. And one of the things that they do there is they are very careful about the teachers they select, who becomes a teacher. And then they're very sensitive to kind of what they do with the students, as presenting them, as I mentioned in answering the first question about PISA, to engage the students in life situations where they have to think and they have to apply their knowledge. That would be one of the key factors, I think, that contributes to an effective education. There's certainly a lot of variety and differences relative to the types of materials and equipment and things that the students experience in schools in the different countries. But I think one of the key factors that I would say, it becomes the way teachers interact with the students. Do they listen to the students? Do they try and engage the students in activities? Are they sensitive to what the students' interests and motivations might be? And then they try and build an education around those factors that they observe. Probably the most important problem has to do with various features and aspects of education that diverge from what I term the instructional core. The instructional core is simply the content of the school program, like science, the knowledge and skills of the teachers, and the means that students are engaged in learning. And if you stay with that instructional core, you enhance the possibility of learning at a large scale, like across Spain. And the more you diverge from that with unique features, ideas, the more you do not enhance kind of learning at a large scale, which is probably one of the issues that I see as really important. Thank you.